Welcome back to another live Q&A. This week, we're going to be answering some pre-submitted questions, but we'll also answer the live questions from everyone that's joining live. And so let's kick it off with our very first pre-submitted question, which is, I'm launching a new product. Should I do FBA or FBM first? Now, this is a really good question because typically I would always say do FBA first. It's great to start FBA first for a few reasons. And that's because you want to get into the motion of working with Amazon as your fulfillment center. More often than not, even if you do FBM at some point, you will have inventory in FBA. And that's because there's so much advantage there of having Amazon's Prime badge on your product, right? I mean, your conversion rate will be a lot higher if you have that Prime badge than if you don't. You'll obviously have streamlined shipping. Now, you can get streamlined shipping off of Amazon if you're working with a fulfillment center that can, promise speedy delivery across the country you're selling in. But FBA is more, in my opinion, effective. It's more reliable. You know they're going to get it done. And if they don't, then that reflects on Amazon. It doesn't reflect on you as a seller. So that's one of the biggest, downsides of FBM is you're responsible for your shipping speed, your shipping prices, and figuring that all out yourself. Now, the reason I hesitate now to always recommend FBA first is because this year Amazon's introduced some more fees that are making it a little bit harder to forecast your margins, right? Your cost. So for that reason, I still recommend FBA, but I would recommend investing some time into figuring out if FBM, so fulfilling your own products, could be more profitable for you. So what that means is maybe you would start on FBA first to get in the rhythm of working with Amazon, get in the rhythm of selling, maybe get your first 50 to 100 reviews, right? And then you can shift over to testing, right? So that's when you actually would send your your inventory to a fulfillment center, or of course you could do it yourself if you have the time, but I'd recommend using a third-party fulfillment center that can not only store, but fulfill your orders for you within, a reasonable time frame, 2, 3, 4 days max. So that's great because you can start testing and you can see what your cost per product, your cost of goods sold would be using both Amazon FBA and FBM. Now, you just got to keep in mind as well, it's not always about the cost, even though that's probably like 90% of it. The other thing is your conversion rate too. I would also be looking at how much revenue you're making, what your conversion rate looks like using FBA and FBM. And then comparing all those factors, including your cost. So I guess long story short, if I'm starting a new FBA business or starting a new Amazon business today, I would use FBA to start with. And then once I get my listing into a very strong state, so in my opinion, that's 100 reviews. Once I get to that point, then I start playing around and start testing multiple variables, not just the fulfillment method, FBA versus FBM. I would test a lot of different things like my title, my pricing, my images, A+ content, videos, advertising, so many things that you can start testing. But in the beginning, I would try to stick to what works and to maximize that to get my listing in a really strong state, which again, for me, is 100 reviews. But hopefully that answers your question. There's definitely a lot of advantages to FBM as well. So feel free to read up on that and make your own judgment and make your own decision based on what you're most comfortable with. That's a very good question. Let's move on to our second pre-submitted question, which is there a limit in how much stock I can send on my first shipment? On your very first shipment, no. So there actually used to be a limit for new sellers, and I believe that was around 500. That probably fluctuated a little bit depending on some, variables. But right now, Amazon is allowing new sellers to send in basically however much inventory you want. Now, of course, you can't send in 30,000 units of, an oversized product, but I believe you'd get away with more than enough of what you need in your first inventory run. Now, there's so many variables here, like the size of your market, the size of your product, like the volume of it, but I would suggest sending in about 3 months worth of supply. Now, how do you know how much 3 months is if you're a brand new seller? The best way of doing that is looking on Amazon and looking at the small sellers and seeing how much revenue or how many sales they're generating each month. And you want to basically take an average of those sellers that have low reviews, that have maybe just started recently, because those are going to be a near reflection of what you could expect, right? You're not going to be able to expect to sell the same volume that the top sellers are doing each month. So what I would do is just find those sellers that are low on the pool, right? So like a couple reviews, maybe under 50 reviews. See what they're doing in the past 3 months, take that average, and then send that inventory in. Now, you'll probably be slightly below that depending on your marketing strategies, but that's how I would do it. And so maybe to show you just real quickly here what that could look like using Jungle Scout, let me go back to the search term here, which is washable pee pads for dogs. Just going to run the extension here by pulling it up at the top there. You could also pull it up down here, which let me move up to the top here so you can see that better. Yeah, you can open it up just like this. And so what I'm now looking at is I'm looking at reviews and date first available. And that's going to tell me when they either started selling or kind of like how strong their listing is, which again, you're going to be starting with 0 reviews. So you want to find smaller sellers here. Now, this is showing the top 52 products, which appears on page 1, but I would actually hit load more to go past page 1. And I'd probably do this a few times. I believe each time you hit load more, it goes to the next page. So now it's showing 96, including the first 2 pages of results. I would do this until it basically Jungle Scout tells me, you can't load anymore, which is usually like 4 or 5, or it could be even more, depending on the search term. But just with what we have here, I'll go ahead and remove myself so you can fully see what I'm doing. I'm going to use some filters to narrow down those, smaller sellers. So the first thing I would do is go to either date first available and select the past 1 to 2 years. Or you can just do reviews, which I'm having a hard time right here finding it. So I would probably put like 150 just to start. And usually what I'll do is, click apply. I see 21 products, and then I can narrow it down even further. Now I can go back to the filters here and, go from 150 to like 50. Or, what I like to do is more so we have these little check boxes here that you can more manually go through and get rid of. So like, here's a product, 122 reviews. I could just say, all right, let's get that out of there. Maybe, anything over 120 I'll get rid of, and then I can click hide rows. And now it's going to show me the average monthly sales of these products over here. So 482 times that by 3, which would be 3 months. That's how much inventory you might want to send into Amazon to cover 3 months. Now, if I was realistically looking at this, I might not send exactly 3 months of inventory. Again, knowing that I will be at 0 reviews. I won't be at 18 or 33 or 105. I'll be at 0. So I'll certainly be selling less than this number. I would take, what is that? Let's see here. Bad at math, so I got to pull this up on the old calculator. But what I would do is, you can't see that. I'm trying to bring the calculator over, but it's not letting me do it. Okay, I would basically take like a rough average of that. Like maybe I would send in around 1,000 units. My first inventory run. So I guess what I'm just trying to say, long story short, is look at what some of the smaller, weaker sellers are selling and take the average of their estimated sales over the past 3 months and send in slightly lower than that. That's typically a good rule of thumb. Great question. So moving on to our third pre-submitted question. And guys, we actually only have a few of these, so we'll get to your live questions here really quickly, actually. But this third question is, I found a generic product on Amazon. Can I list it with my brand name and sell it with the same packaging? No. So we teach, private label on this channel, which is, the process of finding generic products, slapping your logo on it, and essentially reselling it. But it is under your brand, so you are selling it. You're not reselling it. But it's a generic product, so you're reselling it. However, what you can do is just use someone else's packaging, and then on Amazon, like your listing, put your brand name. Because obviously once that product reaches the customer, they're going to be confused. And 2, it's just illegal, at least on Amazon. It goes against their rules. So what you need to do in this case as a private label seller is you got the first part right, where you got your brand name, whether it's trademarked or not, and then you need to add that to your product's packaging. Now, you can't just add it directly over an existing product on the market. You need to go to a supplier using Alibaba or some other way of finding a supplier, and then ask them to add your branding on the product. Now, one thing you just got to keep in mind here, you got to make sure the product itself isn't patented or there's no trademarks on the brand names that you're choosing. So even if I wanted to sell a coffee, we use this example a lot, like a coffee travel mug, right? This is a generic type of product, a travel mug that holds hot coffee. But this one in particular from Yeti, I don't want to even risk bending it because I actually have coffee in here to show you. But I was just trying to show you the logo here. This one's actually patented. So I can't just go to Alibaba, even though they do sell these, and say, hey, put my brand on this one exactly, because this exact type of material and how they formed it is patented. So I'd have to go find a generic version of this that doesn't encroach on the patent. Figure out what that is, obviously. This is a pretty bad example, but I'm sure it has something to do with the coating or like the walls. And obviously like their magnetic stoppers or lids there. But I would have to find a generic version of that, which isn't patented, put my logo on it, and then sell it on Amazon with my brand name in the listing. You can't just rip off essentially someone's product or even their packaging. But hopefully that helps answer your question and helps sum up a little bit of private label. In fact, if you want to learn more, pulling up a good article here. So if you just go to junglescout.com, you hit the magnifying glass up here. You can type any topic and it'll pull up some great blog posts typically. If you just type in private label, I believe this should work. Yeah, you'll see the guide to private label here. There's a few other articles too, but I'd recommend reading this. It really dives deep into, not only what private label is from a high level, like a beginner level, but it really dives deep into like kind of like what you need to do, what you need to understand. And then it shows you some examples of brands that are already doing that. So I highly recommend using the Jungle Scout blog to answer a lot of your questions and get a deeper understanding of just certain topics in general. But that's definitely a good article I'd recommend. All right. Next pre-submitted question. If I want to sell different products in the future, does that mean each product needs to have its own brand name? No. So Amazon actually wants you to have one Amazon account, and within that Amazon account, you could have multiple brands, or you could have one brand that sells a bunch of different products. So think of it like, think of it like your Walmart, right? Where Walmart has their own brands, their own in-store brands. I think Equate is one of them. Great Value is another one. And so Walmart, if you're Walmart, you can have multiple brands under your one account. And then you can have multiple types of products under each brand. So you could really have one brand and sell different products, or you could have multiple brands under your one Amazon account. So a lot of people, they will like to do, and I would definitely recommend this myself, is to, if you're going to have two products, if they're similar in that sense, I mean, could the same customer buy it, right? So if you're selling two dog products, it'd be great to have that under the same brand name, right? Because now you're creating a dog brand. Now, if you have a dog product and then you have like a towel or like a home product that are just totally separate, then you can make the judgment call of, do I keep it under the same brand name for simplicity, or do I actually want to create two brands here? And then think about like your off Amazon platforms, right? Like if you were to do social media and you had a brand name called, I don't know, Jake's Pet Products, and now you're advertising a pillow or something, that would kind of be jarring to the consumer. So think about it like that way. Like how are you going to brand your products? If they're similar, add it to the same brand. If they're not similar and you want to really, build a brand, then separate them and name the brand that is like, it encapsulates a certain type of topic, subject, niche, or a customer. But you don't have to do that. If you want to save money, you don't want to be trademarking a bunch of different names, you could always create a broad brand name. Like we've done that here at Jungle Scout. Our brand name is called Jungle Creations, which allows us to sell anything we want underneath it. At the moment, we have one dog product with 3 variations. We also have sold Jungle Sticks, which are basically wooden bamboo marshmallow roasting sticks, which is different from dog products. But again, because we have a broad brand name, Jungle Creations, we can sell whatever we want underneath it. So that's what we did, and it's awesome. We don't have to worry about, when we're doing product research, keeping, our search results or our ideas, I guess like bucketed or into this one idea of products for this one customer. We can do whatever we want. There's obviously pros and cons of that. We're not building a brand in the sense of, being hyper-focused, but we are still building a brand that sells household products, whether you're a dog or a human. So it's really your call, but I think both strategies are great. All right, our last pre-submitted questions here. Before we get to your live ones, I'm interested in getting Jungle Scout. Is there any chance of obtaining a discount? Good question. So typically we do run discounts like promos all throughout the year. So the best place to just like kind of, obviously you're on YouTube, but if you go back to our website and you click pricing here, you'll typically see if there's a deal, like this page will be updated. Now, the best part about Jungle Scout is we offer annual deals. So this is a 24/7 deal where versus the monthly, if you see here, the professional plan, which is like, you get everything within Jungle Scout. You don't have to worry about ever going over, your ASIN count or having more people on it. $129 a month monthly, but you basically save half off if you go to a yearly plan. So basically you'll get billed once, and you'll see here now you saved over $500 something dollars. So that's a 24/7 deal that you can take advantage of. It's a massive deal. I mean, you can just see even on the Suite plan, you save $240, Pro plan $549. If you want to save even more money and get a lot of extra things out of Jungle Scout for the same price as the Pro plan right here, you can get the Freedom Builder Bootcamp course. What that is it gets you everything that's included in the professional plan, which is the same value, $1,000. But you also get the Freedom Builder Bootcamp course, which is a full-on course by the CEO and founder of Jungle Scout, Greg Mercer. And it goes into great detail. Like Greg himself is showing you how to launch a product, how to scale the product, how to list it, how to do keyword research, advertising, you name it. And we're trying actually right now, we're putting a lot of work into really revamping this course, and we want to add more content just all throughout the year. So this is a really, really great way to save money. If there's not currently like a New Year's deal or a Christmas deal, but we're always doing those deals too. So keep your eyes peeled. You can go to junglescout.com, click the pricing tab, or just learn more about Jungle Scout with any of these headers, or again, searching for whatever topic you want to learn more about. But hopefully that's helpful. We also, put links in all of our YouTube videos. If you click those, it'll bring you to these pages. And sometimes we have deals in there too. So hopefully that answers your questions. Those are the pre-submitted questions from last week's video, which is now 3 weeks ago. But like I said earlier, we are going to be doing more of these live Q&As, trying to do them every Thursday at the same time, 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to get your questions into the next pre-submitted section field, which is the first half of the video, then make sure you drop a comment below. If you're watching live, you can also add your questions in the chat now and I'll answer those, but make sure to drop your questions in the comment section. That way it carries over and then we can add them to next week's video. But with that said, I'm now going to start looking at the comments and answering all your guys' live questions. In the meantime, while I tee that up, let me know how it's going for you guys. Let me know how it's going selling or in your product research journey if you haven't started yet. Let me know where you are in your journey. I think that's going to really help me here as I start answering your questions. I want to understand you a little bit better. And also, let me know if you're doing like private label, you're doing wholesale, arbitrage. Let me know your business model. So go ahead and add that to the chat as I kind of tee up these questions here. Okay, so go ahead and bring up this first question. That is, I'm about to launch my product. What is the best strategy for launch and to get external traffic to my listing? Great question. So the best way to launch is to focus your time on Amazon. And what I mean by that is using Amazon's PPC advertising platform, which is called Campaign Manager. The reason I say to focus your time there, as opposed to anywhere else, is because that's going to be the best way to get your first sales. If you think about off Amazon traffic, which I'm going to get to here in just a second, and it's a great approach that you need to be thinking about, especially now in 2024. But if you think about that type of traffic that comes off of Amazon, they're less likely to convert. And that's because they're doing something else, and you're trying really hard to drag them out of whatever they're doing. Typically, it's entertainment, right? If you're coming from YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, they're there for the purpose of being entertained or for some other reason other than to buy something on Amazon, right? And so for every 100 people you bring in, you could bring in 1,000 people on Amazon, because people on Amazon are there to shop. They have their money out and they're just walking around the aisle, just looking for something to buy. And if your ad shows up right in front of their face, they're like, oh, interesting. And then they might buy your product, or at least they'll see it. So that's why I say to focus more of your time in the beginning on Amazon. So using PPC ads to get in front of more shoppers and to get your first sales, because it's going to give you the best bang for your buck. You're going to get more volume than you would off of Amazon, and it should be more profitable. So that's taken care of now. You want to focus more time on PPC. So kind of learn more about how to set up your advertising campaigns. We got great videos on our YouTube channel that can help you with that. We also have great blog articles over on junglescout.com. Just type in advertising or PPC up at the top and you'll find some really good articles on how to set up your first campaigns. So the second part of this now is like off Amazon external traffic. That's something very important that you should be doing really on the side of working on Amazon, right? So you don't have to pick one or the other, but if you have a full-time job and you just don't have that much time, I still recommend focusing most of your energy on the Amazon stuff. But let's say you have more time or your business is growing and now you kind of really need to be thinking about this more. The off Amazon traffic is so valuable because essentially it could be free. Now, I'm not talking about like ads, like Google ads or TikTok ads. I'm kind of like putting that to the side here, even though that's a great discussion and a great thing to learn. But just building your social media presence off Amazon will be huge. And that's because you're not paying every time you do an article or you do a video and you're getting people to click your link in the bio, which brings them over to Amazon to buy your product. You're not paying for that traffic. That's 100% organic. And that's huge because on Amazon, there are so many fees. Advertising is one of them, and it's one of the biggest ones. I believe a lot of people I talk to say around 30% of your price, so your product's price, is what you can expect to pay in advertising fees on Amazon. 30%. And so Amazon's already collecting almost 50% or up to 60 or 70, depending on your product and your fees. They're already taking over half of your cost, right? Or of your price. And now if you add another 30% in, you're really scratching the bottom of the barrel to find some pennies to keep for yourself. So that's why you really, really want to focus on content off of Amazon. Focus it on organic content first. And then as you scale, you can start, taking your best pieces of content and put those into advertising campaigns off of Amazon. I think TikTok's one of the best places to get started right now. Instagram, Reels, pair that with Facebook. Facebook is awesome when it comes to advertising. Depending on your niche, LinkedIn could be a great off Amazon traffic driver. So really just start studying up on those, post and test, and don't give up because it's going to be a slow grind. Like I said, Amazon is more of a faster way to get sales at a greater volume. But over time, your off Amazon traffic will be more valuable than Amazon's traffic because that's traffic you own and it's traffic that comes at a way better price than paying Amazon fees, Amazon advertising fees. So short story, start with advertising on Amazon first, then start slowly building out your organic content off Amazon, and then eventually just really start scaling that and test and test and test and don't give up because it's going to take a while, but hopefully you will see results. It's a really good question. All right, next question here. Please show me how to find good products based on all 4 quarters. Great question. So I assume what you mean here is, if you're doing product research now in April, you may be looking at data that is a little bit skewed based off of Christmas or of Q4 last year, because we're only a couple months removed there, about 4 months now. So what you want to do is make sure that you're looking at data that spans at least 1 year, 12 months long. If you go to 2 years, that's better. And so when you actually get the Jungle Scout Pro plan, which is this one here, you will get up to 2 years of historical keyword data and sales data as well. So I definitely recommend, looking at data that's at least 1 to 2 years old rather than 3 to 6 months old. And what that will do is basically show you if there's any seasonality trends that are affecting what you're looking at now. So when I'm looking at a product, let me just maybe bring one up for an example here. I'll click on the monthly units sold for, let me get rid of my filters that I set earlier so I can get some bigger products in here. So let's say, we're looking at this product here, 7,000 monthly sales. And you can see here we have 3 months, 6 months, a year, and 2 months that I can look at. So I have it set to monthly here, but I'll go back to the past 2 years. You can also go weekly and daily. But for this type of analysis, when you're just trying to really quick understand a product, I like monthly. And so you can see here, the only time it's really been low is, I wonder if it just launched here or what happened here. Or maybe we're just getting the end of July. But you can see the worst month here is 900 sales. And it's pretty consistent over the past year. Like from this point on, December of 2022 to now, and this is a couple days into April, that's pretty amazing. This product's been pretty consistent. But if you would see something like, I don't know, if you just saw this data here, that might skew your thoughts a little bit because you might say, oh, it's not doing that well, when really it actually is. So I would say just the best way to answer this question is make sure you're looking at data that's at least 1 year long or 2 years if you can, and then take seasonality out of it and just try to take the average of what you can expect to sell on Amazon. Now there's certain products that are just going to be more seasonal. you want to avoid the very, very seasonal products. So you want to avoid like Christmas trees, things that are obvious, right? Like Valentine's Day gifts. However, don't be afraid of the products that have a natural seasonality peak, right? So like think about if you're selling like a notebook or some sort of like pen and paper combo or whatever. That's obviously probably going to have a peak during back to school season, right? Where a lot of people are buying those types of products, but people buy those all throughout the year. I wouldn't be afraid of those products, but just understand the peaks and valleys, understand the seasonality differences throughout the year, because that's going to make it a lot harder if you are selling those seasonal products to maintain inventory throughout the year. It's going to be very, it could be predictable, but it might be hard to manage your inventory. So that would be my advice: is just look at very long data so that you can really take the averages. Okay. Next question here. What's the most effective PPC campaign? Keyword or product targeting? This is a good question. I personally have had better experience, but this is just me, with product targeting. And I'm only speaking about that in terms of profitability. With keyword targeting, there's way more keywords than there are products typically. So you can get more volume out of keywords. And a lot of times, my biggest or best campaigns in terms of sales and revenue will come from my keyword targeting campaigns. But I've just found that my product targeting campaigns perform a lot better. I always do both. I always do keyword campaigns, product targeting campaigns, category campaigns, sponsored display campaigns, which targets audiences and interest, and then automatic campaigns. Did I say that already? Automatic campaigns that kind of just let Amazon do the bidding for me. The reason I like product targeting campaigns or have at least noticed on my accounts that it's a little more profitable is because you can fine tune them. You're picking the products, right, that you want to advertise against. And so what I've done typically in the very, very beginning, just add any type of product that's relevant to my campaign. So if I'm selling washable pee pads for dogs, in the beginning when I just launched, I'm finding every product that is washable pee pad for dog and I'm advertising against it. And then eventually, once I start to get more reviews, my listing is stronger, I really start to dial that down. And so now I'm looking at competitors that are within my price range. So if I'm selling at $35, what's great about product targeting is you can target products that are $35 and up, right? Or you can target products that are like $34 and up. Just give yourself a little buffer or even go down to 30. But what I like to do there is just like basically tell Amazon, hey, like rather than a keyword that doesn't have any like modifiers or filters to lock it in on a certain type of competition, you can actually you can pick your competition with product targeting ads. And so if you are advertising your $35 product against a $45 product and a customer scrolls down on that $45 product's listing and sees your product, there's a really good chance that they'll at least click on that ad and then hopefully buy your product. So for me, I love product targeting campaigns, and specifically I love sponsored brand video campaigns. They won't spend as much as the other campaigns will do, like your automatic campaigns, your keyword targeting campaigns. But again, in my experience, those video campaigns paired with product targeting and even keywords are killer. Like they're great for profit. If you're ever like kind of like, okay, I need to dial back my ACoS a little bit. I'm in like the 40s, 50s, or 60s. I need to come down to 20 or 30. Product targeting when you really filter it down, and video campaigns, in my experience, have been wonders. Have been so good for me. So that's just my experience, but that's what I would recommend if you're looking for an answer. Can I wholesale products without an LLC in the US? You technically can wholesale an LLC. I would always recommend it because it protects you. And also there's a lot of brands that will want you to be protected or will want to work with a registered business for many reasons. You certainly can. You may just want to get a resale certificate. That's something that I think most wholesalers would ask of you. And sometimes when you get the LLC, depending on who you go with, I've used in the past LegalZoom. They could sort of help you get that resale certificate, or at least point you in the direction of where to go based on the state that you're getting your LLC in. So I would recommend it, but you don't actually need to. So I would just, keep that in mind that some brands might say no if you don't have an LLC. Okay. These are always a tough one for me to answer because this is a tax question and it's actually talking about like what taxes to pay in India. So I'm sorry, I don't know how to answer this question just because I don't have the experience to give you a real answer. And I want to make sure that all my answers are coming from either experience, from something I've done, or just something that I'm aware of. And this is just one of those things I'm not aware of, unfortunately. But if anyone in the chat has this answer, feel free to chime in and answer this one. Okay, my Amazon account is individual. I'm selling generic products. When I form an LLC, how can I update my Amazon account? Yeah, that's pretty simple. I can't remember the exact workflow now, but it should be as simple as just going into your settings and changing that. I'm gonna try to log in real quick and see if I can actually show you how. There's videos on this topic. There's a lot of blog articles on it. I'm trying to see. Oh, yeah. So the account that I'm on with our general creations account is owned by a lot of people. So we actually have a manager who's kind of the admin, and then we're all users on it. And I don't think I have that option, but it should be under your Seller Central account settings. And then you go to your account, and then you can literally just change it there from individual to pro at any time. You can also add like an LLC. Yeah, if you want to change your business name or you want to go from individual to business, you can always change that within your account settings. I'll do a little Google search on that one. I can't, unfortunately, pull it up on my screen here. Can I start a generic private label brand with $3,000? Absolutely. The more money you have, the better. But I'm definitely not one of those people that will say you have to have at least $10,000. You have to have at least $5,000, because I've seen it done for less than $1,000. Now, you just have to understand, like, the people that I think maybe are saying $5,000 to $10,000 minimum are coming from a place of, like, in a perfect world, if you want the best head start, you want the best of everything, then yeah, you want to start with $10,000, $5,000, because you can, not run out of stock. You can have enough for your second inventory run. You can have enough for crazy good photography and videography. You can have enough for advertising budget, and so on. So that's the perfect world scenario. However, I've seen it done before for definitely $3,000. I've seen it done, again, like I said, for $1,000 or less. And you just need to understand that with that money, you're probably going to sacrifice a little bit of you're going to have to sacrifice something, whether it's your product photography, your inventory. I would always say invest in product photography first. Obviously, your inventory is important. But if you have a horrible listing, that inventory is not going to sell. So I would put a lot of money towards the listing, getting that really looking good. So your product photography, maybe even a video, put some money towards inventory, put some money towards advertising budget, and then don't worry about going out of stock. That's typically something you want to avoid on Amazon. But in your first few inventory runs, maybe in your first 6 months, even up to a year, don't worry about it. If you only have $3,000 now, that's what a lot of people, prevents a lot of people from getting started. It's either they can't find a product to sell on Amazon, or they fear that they're going to go out of stock because they just don't have enough money. But in this case, don't let that stop you. Get going. Don't worry about going out of stock. And then eventually you can start, figuring out, once you start selling inventory and you have enough money to buy more inventory, then you'll figure out kind of how to manage your inventory and not go out of stock. So $3,000, you certainly can get away with that. Just make sure you find products, obviously, that are lower priced in terms of buying it from Alibaba or the supplier. Yeah. All right, David, you're in the stage of getting samples done, and you're getting your first order. They sent a quote for the product. Awesome. Congrats. But the price seems to be really high. How shall I negotiate? Great question. So if you're only speaking with one supplier, your negotiation power is going to be very limited, because you're only going to be able to negotiate with that one supplier. So I would recommend here, just the first thing I'd recommend is reach out to many suppliers, and then find a few that you can see yourself working with based on their price and their communication to you. So how easily, you can communicate with them. Are they very thorough? Do they speak your language effectively? And are they fast in responding to you? So there's a lot of different factors there, but really it's just like price and communication. Then shortlist those suppliers. Maybe it's like 5 to 10, but definitely more than one, I would say. And then you get different quotes. And then if you're saying they're all kind of in the same ballpark, so let's say the average quote you're getting is $10, then maybe the quote you're getting right now isn't that far off. Like maybe the actual floor of that product price is around $10. There might be some suppliers that can do 8 or 9 and get a little bit cheaper, but you just want to kind of make sure you're not trading off quality or, how strong you think the supplier is, like how experienced they are and how effectively they communicate with you. So the first tip there is get a bunch of quotes. from suppliers you really like and you can see yourself working with. That will help you understand the average quote. And then if that's still, maybe you narrowed it down and you're like, okay, now how can I negotiate with this 1 or 3 suppliers? You want to understand where that cost is coming from. Is it coming from the shipping estimate that they're providing you, or is it coming from the product cost they're providing you? If it's coming from the product cost, there's not that much you can do other than order more inventory. So typically, when you buy like 1,000 units, that will be more expensive than if you were to buy 10,000 units. I'm not telling you to buy 10x your cost or what you can afford now, but maybe what you can do is ask the supplier, hey, I plan on purchasing in the future 5,000 at once or 10,000 at once, but right now I just need to buy 1,000 units or 500 units. What would my price be at that $10,000 order or 10,000 unit order or that 5,000 unit order? You basically want to see if they're willing to give you a discount based on quantity. If they're never going to do that, they say, nope, it's just always going to be $10 for your product forever, no matter how much you buy, then all right, that kind of stinks because they should be giving you a discount for quantity. But if that is the case, let's say, yeah, if you buy, our price goes down $1 every 5,000 units or whatever, then that's great because even if you're not happy with the price now, maybe your next inventory order or a couple inventory orders down the road, you will be able to get that price you're looking for. So keep that in mind. Ask them for different prices based on the quantities. And the second thing is, so that was the product price, the shipping cost. So if they're giving you a rate for your shipping costs, like ask them to itemize it. Like if you're doing an FOB or whatever, ask them, hey, how much of that cost that you gave me was for shipping? And then what you can do now is you can actually go out to different freight forwarders. You can use a site called freightos.com. We talk about it a lot in our videos. And you can get quotes from different freight forwarders there. And then you can really just compare. You can also go on Amazon and create a shipping plan and see what they're charging for their Amazon Global Logistics freight forwarding service. And then really what you're doing is just trying to compare. Maybe you actually don't want to use your supplier shipping and you want to use Amazon's or another freight forwarders. So that can save you a lot of money. And then if that doesn't work, so you got your product cost, you got your shipping cost, the next thing you can do is just kind of figure out if there's any little things within your product cost that could be like taken out or modified. So you don't want to decrease the quality, but maybe you're getting charged extra for certain packaging, or maybe you're getting charged extra because the size of your product. And if you could slightly narrow it down, or you could do something that makes the supplier's job easier, ask them what we can do to get the product price down. So just ask them that question if all else fails. And if that doesn't work, don't buy the product. I mean, if it's not going to be profitable for you, don't fall in love with the product and feel like you have to buy it regardless. I don't think you can just make it more profitable down the road by raising your price. I would always make sure that the product has high demand and high profitability, and do not budge on those two. I would spend more time doing product research if you're really unhappy with that price. So yeah, I mean, profitability is the most important thing now on Amazon. So I want you to really be sure that you're going to be happy with that product from a profitability perspective before you dive into it. So yeah, hopefully that is helpful for you. All right, so I need 2 products to ship from China, Alibaba. How can I ship them together? One's both products if manufacturers are different, okay, or as a new seller. So basically, it sounds like you have 2 products coming from different manufacturers. You're asking how you can ship those together. So if I'm understanding that question correctly, the way to do that is, one, you can get one supplier to send their inventory to the other supplier, and then that supplier sends it into Amazon or sends it to wherever you need. So you're just basically having one supplier send it to the other supplier. That's the first way. The second way is to have them both send inventory into a third-party fulfillment center or a prep center. That's usually the names. You can Google third-party fulfillment centers or Amazon prep centers, and you can have them both send it into that center. They kind of do that work of packaging it together. Oops. Sorry about that. They kind of do that work of packaging it together, and then they send it to Amazon. Now, that's going to be slightly more expensive typically, because typically the manufacturers shipping to each other they just have better rates, is what I've seen. Versus if you're selling in the U.S., the U.S. labor is going to be more expensive. So, it's an option. You may want to get quotes from both, but those are the 2 ways of doing it. Another way of doing it, you technically could send them both into Amazon as separate packages and then you can do a virtual bundle. But I wouldn't recommend doing that because virtual bundles, you can't advertise against them. They are like an ASIN, so that someone can buy them both together, even though they're two separate products. But Amazon doesn't let you advertise it. It's really weird. So I would just recommend probably telling one of your suppliers to send it to the other supplier. I think that's going to be the most effective or cost-effective way to lower your shipping cost. Awesome. Next question here. All right, so you got an Etsy product with 10-day shipping. There's good demand, moderate competition on Amazon. Okay, can I sell FBA? Well, before I even read the rest of this, I'll say yes, you can. You absolutely can sell it. But let me read the rest of it. Will Prime shipping plus branding be attractive, or will customers prefer Etsy? Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'm assuming you found the supplier for this product on Etsy. Like you're saying maybe the product's being sold on Etsy. It's doing pretty good with 10-day shipping. So like people are willing to wait 10 days for it. It's got good demand, which I assume you're maybe validating that on Amazon, not just demand on Etsy. I really want to make sure that if you're going to sell on Amazon, you want to make sure that the Amazon data is what you're looking at. It's great to start or to validate off of Amazon. So you can like think of ideas from Etsy or think of ideas from like Facebook or some TikTok even, but then come to Amazon, use the Amazon data to really validate that the Amazon consumer is buying it, similar to how the Etsy consumer is buying it. Because there are different mindsets and buying behaviors on different platforms. But if that all checks out, you absolutely can ship it. The Prime shipping will be great. Like if I go to Etsy right now and want to buy something, first off, I would assume I'm actually going to be buying a personalized product, which is what I typically have bought on Etsy. If that's not what you're talking about, because I'm curious how you would customize it for somebody, but if it's not a customized product, it's just being sold on Etsy, I would probably go to Etsy and be like, oh, 10-day shipping, and then go on Amazon and look for it too, or just Google it, and hopefully I see an Amazon listing, because I would love to buy it with 2-day shipping, assuming a similar price. People might even be willing to pay an extra $1 or $2 to have Amazon shipping and the peace of mind of like, oh, if I don't like it, I can return it. So absolutely, you can find products off of Amazon, in this case, Etsy, validate the data on Amazon. That's very, very important, and sell it, just as long as you obviously have a supplier that's willing to make that product. But that is a fun way of doing product research. I actually love doing that whenever I'm on TikTok. I will look around and see this product that's being promoted on TikTok Shop, and I'm like, I bet that product's killing it on Amazon, and most likely it is. And it's typically really competitive, but yeah, it's a fun way of doing product research, and you certainly could sell it on Amazon if you found the idea from Etsy. Yeah. How can I do a quality check at the manufacturer in China? Are there any companies? Yes, there's many companies that do this. We used one called Kima. I think this is it. QIMA inspection. Yep, this is it. Kima. This is one that just like I said, like we've used before. So you definitely want to get your products inspected. Like your first inventory run with a new supplier is super important to get a product inspected. Typically after your third or fourth inventory run, you may not have to do it, but especially when you're working with a new supplier, it's very, very smart to protect your investment and to pay that one-time cost to get the product inspected. I'm not sure about the pricing. That's just, totally dependent. I'm sure you just have to contact them. It's funny enough, when I typed in Kima, cost came up here. So I'm curious if they have like any just like, I don't know. Oh gosh, I'm not going to read all that. But yeah, so you probably just have to reach out to them. It's very, very dependent on what your product is, where they have to go, and what you need them to do. I think another one is called Mobley Inspections. I think it's Mobley. Yeah, we're going to be working with these guys here shortly on a project, but I haven't personally used them, but I know some of the people that work there, and I think they would be awesome. So they might even be more transparent here. So maybe you want to look into this as well as Kima. But those are some good options if you want to do some product inspections on your inventory. Again, especially helpful and very, very useful if it's your first inventory run. But yeah, great question. Could you point me to authentic resources on how to create a customer email database using terms of service, compliance, product inserts? Oh, cool. That's really cool. I don't know resource-wise on the topic of creating an email database. Like if you're actually looking for I assume like a landing page that can get people to insert their email, and then sort of like the software, if that's what you're looking for. I don't know any resources on that. I'm sure there's some great articles on Google and YouTube, videos on YouTube that talk about that more broadly, even outside of the scope of Amazon FBA. But what I will say is we have a ton of articles on junglescout.com about product inserts. And so let me see if I can find it real quick. And all these products talk about terms of service approved methods. So I'm just typing product inserts in our search bar up here. Boom. There's two guides here I'd read: how to get reviews on Amazon and product inserts, because in that one article here you'll find a lot about product inserts. And so here's a really good resource for you on just some ideas. There's a lot of like Amazon policy stuff in here you need to be aware of, like do's and don'ts. Like you can't incentivize good reviews only. You have to ask for, genuine feedback regardless of how they felt. And yeah, again on the topic of like collecting emails, that should probably come from like a resource or a channel that is dedicated to, or at least talks about, how to collect emails for e-commerce sellers. It's really hard to find that for like an Amazon seller perspective. There might be some, especially like podcasts, but yeah, I would look at kind of how to set that all up on other channels. But that would be a cool thing for us to cover. We haven't done that yet. We haven't really done much of off Amazon here at Jungle Scout for our products, because we're working full time on these jobs and we only have so much hours of our day to dedicate to Amazon. So everything we do is typically on Amazon itself. But this is something to keep in mind. I may have to put a little more thought towards that. But great question. All right. Rice only. Would packaging your product in padded envelopes with your logo count as branded packaging? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely branded packaging. If it's not going to hurt your product, if it's in a padded envelope, like if it's not a fragile product and it's not going to be bent or torn or anything, that's definitely a great way of saving money. I would assume is why you're thinking about padded envelopes. And then adding your logo is a great idea too. Just know that Amazon will add their own box over it. But actually, if you pay for it, this is a new thing. Amazon recently came out with a program called SIP, Ship in Product Packaging, SIP, SIPP. You can look it up on Google, where basically it's exactly what it sounds like. However you package your product, you really want to make sure your product's packaged strongly so it doesn't affect the product inside. But however you package it, Amazon can ship it out to the customer that way, and you'll save a little bit of money because you're not telling Amazon to put a box on it. So yeah, if you want to brand it, you want to have a great experience, an unboxing experience, not just putting your logo on it, but think about like the actual unboxing experience. When they take it out of that envelope, is there something protecting it? Is there like some little things you can do in there outside of just putting your brand name on it? So think about that. Think about the unboxing experience. But to answer your question, you absolutely can add your logo to your product packaging, and that will help you stand out a little bit more and make that opening experience a little more legit, or make your brand feel a little bit bigger than it really is. So that's always a great way of branding your packaging, is just adding your logo. Oh, thank you, Gabe. Love the videos. They're a big help. Glad to hear that. My first product isn't profitable due to over improvement. Oh, and ad cost. Tips for a tight budget and ad campaign. I'd be really curious, if you're still here, Gabe, to hear like the over improvement part of it. And kind of what you mean by that. Is it sort of like your R&D cost, your research and development got too expensive, or maybe it's a brand new type of product because you really improved it and people just don't understand it yet, and so you're thinking about like, I'm advertising a lot to educate people, or I'm trying to I'm seeing my conversion rate lower because people are confused or something. I'm curious what you mean by that. So if you're still here, feel free to let me know in the comments. So to answer your question, tips for a tight budget, you basically want to maximize your ad spend in terms of sales. So that, just to be very, very clear here, there are, you obviously can certainly increase sales and increase profitability at the same time. But what I found is once you focus on one or the other, sales or profitability, you'll really start to maximize one or the other. It's almost like if you're familiar with working out, like bulking and cutting. You can do both, but to see the effects of that combined effort will take a long time, versus if you're just bulking, you'll see the results, pretty quickly. And if you're cutting, you'll see those results pretty quickly. And so the same thing sort of happens here. If you're trying to maximize your ad spend for sales, what I would recommend doing is, first off, you kind of need to test. You need like this testing period of like running a bunch of campaigns, different types of campaigns, different types of keywords. So testing some like really high volume keywords, testing some very low volume long tail keywords, just a full blown test. Give it a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months. And then when you know what works, it's almost like when you read a search term report on Amazon. For those who haven't read a search term report on Amazon, essentially it's just telling you what's working, what's not. But once you have that data, you can now like increase the spend on what's working and decrease the spend on what's not working. And so after that test period, I'd recommend essentially doing just that. It sounds like a broad blanket answer, and I'm not trying to do that to you, but it's such a nuanced question because everybody's products are different, everybody's keywords are different, it's so nuanced and so broad that I don't just want to tell you one thing to do and you focus on that only. So I would just recommend testing first, increasing what's working and decreasing what's not. But one thing you can do that I will say, I said this earlier on, is experiment with videos. Experiment with off Amazon videos, but take those videos, put them on your listing. You could have more than one product video. Use those videos in your advertising campaigns and test those. So if you just have one video, start with that, that's fine. Then maybe try to create a second one, whether you make it yourself, whether you hire somebody, whether you just use your images and kind of create a cool visual with them. Test video campaigns against each other, see what works. Video campaigns to me are a great campaign because in my experience, they spend very efficiently. So I would do that. Test your videos, test your campaigns, test your keywords. If you're looking for something else now, if you're just trying to deal with a tight budget, one thing that I've always liked is to use an automatic campaign always. Like there's always been like a debate about should you take your search terms from your automatic campaign, add them to a manual campaign, and then negate them from spending in the automatic campaign, right? So basically, once you move the campaign over from automatic to manual, should you negate those keywords in automatic? I actually don't do that anymore. I used to do it religiously. Like every time I moved a keyword over, I would stop it from the automatic campaign. The reason why I keep it going is because I find sometimes, for whatever reason, Amazon sometimes will do a better job of bidding in the automatic campaign than the same keyword that's in my manual campaign. So one thing you could do is just try writing that automatic campaign. And if that's the only campaign you have running, checking in almost daily, or, I wouldn't make changes daily, but you can check in daily and look for the keywords that eventually hit a threshold. And that threshold for me is typically like 10 to 20 clicks. After that 10 to 20 clicks threshold, I'm now going to be able to make a determination. Is it helpful to keep in, or should I be taking it out? And so if you just have one campaign running, I would personally say the automatic campaign is one of the best campaigns to keep running. It's easy to check in on. But also, let me show you real quick a couple good videos to watch that will show you how to find long tail keywords. So if you go to our channel, just go to the videos tab. It's one of my favorite videos that we've done because I honestly think it's really helpful. Right here, do this to find long tail keywords for Amazon PPC. These are going to be really good keywords that will help you be profitable while maximizing your spend. So watch this one, and then there's another one here somewhere. Yeah, outrank your competitors using this 3-step method. I definitely recommend watching these two together. They're like two of one of my favorite videos that we've done. I really think they're really helpful, and they do talk about advertising. Is there any other videos? There's a lot of videos that would help you, but to me, I think those are the most relevant to your question. Sorry, I'm just seeing if there's anything else here. I think this is a good one. It's about more like listing optimization. That's a good one. Top tips to rank on page 1. And yeah. And then if you want another advertising relating video, this one here, it's a fun thumbnail. The truth about Amazon profitability. I think that's a good one to watch as well. But hopefully those are good resources for you if you're looking for something else to watch after this. Okay. Is ASIN and GTIN compulsory? Wow, I have a hard time talking today. What will happen if I don't use them and how to get them? So an ASIN, you can't sell on Amazon without one. So that one you don't have to worry about. The GTIN, or basically your UPC code, is important to have. Now you can sell without that. You can get what's called a GTIN exemption. What that allows you to do is just to sell under the brand name generic. So you're a generic brand on Amazon that allows you just to get going on Amazon. Why I don't recommend that is, let's say eventually you do want to brand your product or create a brand. that generic product is locked in, right? So when you do a G10 exemption and you use the brand name generic, you're locked in there. The only way to add your brand to that product in the future is to create a whole new listing. So that stinks, especially if you have a bunch of reviews built up, and now you basically have to leave that listing in the dark to start all over again with the same product, but it's branded. So I would always recommend getting the UPC code. UPC and G10 are basically the same thing, so that's why I'm saying UPC instead of G10. The best way of doing that is to go to gs1.org. You say reject all optional cookies because we don't like being tracked. You can get your barcodes up here, select your country, United States, click it here. Basically, gs1.org is where you get it. We have a great couple of videos on this, and then actually, rather than trying to explain it all to you, and sorry, this is not a cop-out. I just truly think it's way better to watch a video or read a resource that's hyper-focused on what you're trying to learn. And so this one right here, Lenny does a phenomenal job of explaining everything you need to know about UPCs and G10s in this video. So give this one a watch. You need this barcode on your product. This is taken from our How to Sell on Amazon series, which, if you haven't watched already, you can go to our home channel, or you can just sort by popular. And let's see, last year, the most up-to-date one is this one right here. So this is our How to Sell on Amazon full course. It teaches you everything you need to know A to Z about how to sell on Amazon. Highly recommend watching that video if you haven't already. It's one of our best videos we do every year that gets a lot of views because it's truly like some of the best content, or the best content we make every single year. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Cool. All right, Laura asked, with your experience, can you talk about how Amazon's algorithm really works? How PPC reviews, brand name search, listing quality searches from outside of Amazon impact the Amazon algorithm? Yeah, absolutely. So in my experience, there's a lot of different factors that affect the algorithm, and each factor is weighted differently. So Amazon doesn't release this information. Now, I'm very lucky to work at Jungle Scout, where I have I'm sort of like on the inside. I hear a lot of educated guesses, or there's a lot of people that work at Jungle Scout now that are from Amazon. And so they kind of come with like experience and true information of what the algorithm thinks about and weighs. Now, the algorithm is always changing, like probably weekly or monthly. So what we hear might be slightly different, but also just like kind of seeing cause and effect on my own products, I can give you a little bit of what I'm aware of. So what affects the algorithm most is what Amazon cares about the most is customer satisfaction and conversion. So if I'm typing in on Amazon, let's see here, pee pads for dogs. So that's my search term, right? As you can see here, I'm going to skip past these sponsored products real quick and the Amazon Basics products. And I'm going to scroll down here to the first organic products. So these are products right here that are disposable. So right, these are disposable pee pads. There's not one reusable pee pad, except for this one actually. And that one, that's disposable as well. So I see one reusable one, and all these other ones so far, these are sponsored, but all these other ones are disposable. That's telling me that when customers type in this search term, Amazon knows that they're buying disposable pee pads. It also tells me that, look at these price points, $9.99, $13.39. This one's sort of an outlier, but it's Glad, so it's a really big brand, and they're selling it in like a huge 100 pack. But you can see these price points are all pretty similar, right? So what that's telling me is that people that search this search term are looking for disposable, and they're looking to spend, under like $20 for the most part, unless you're going with a bigger brand. And why that's helpful to know is because if I'm selling our product, which is, let me just show you, we're selling washable pee pads for dogs, right? Not disposable, which are the ones you're seeing here. Also, our price is currently it's $31.44, but we typically sell at like $36.99, that crossed out price there. So that's telling us two things. We're just not going to be a relevant product for the search term. Now, we can still advertise on it, pee pads for dogs, which we do occasionally do, but we're not profitable or as profitable because, again, it's not the most relevant keyword. And so why this is really important to answer your question is because Amazon knows what people are searching and what they're buying. And so that's one of the biggest things that will determine or what the algorithm thinks about. So they want to just make people happy. They don't want to help you as a seller. They want to make customers happy. So that's the biggest thing is conversion rate or click-through rate. Those are two most important metrics, click-through rate and conversion rate. Then it obviously comes down to, I'm going to share the screen again. You mentioned reviews in your question. That's definitely another one. So if I'm looking at these first row of products, 4,000 reviews, 12,000, almost 100,000. Now this one's a little bit of an outlier at 182 reviews, but then we got 62,000 reviews. So what Amazon knows is products with higher review counts have better click-through rates and they have better conversion rates. So that's definitely a factor. This one's a little bit of an outlier, but what's interesting is Amazon's tested over this past year, I think now, or half a year, this new line that says 7K bought in the past month. And you see 10K here. So like this is a good example. This product here has way more reviews than this one, but only has 3,000 more sales that Amazon's saying versus this product. So they're kind of testing out this as like another review indicator for consumers that kind of makes them feel better about clicking this product. So think of this as similar to reviews. So that's another thing is like sales and what the customer can see, which is reviews. That's certainly going to be something that is Amazon's thinking about. So now we're talking about click-through rate, we're talking about conversion rate, and we're talking about things that affect those, which are reviews. Those to me are one of the most important things. Now, when you think about like what you can do as a seller, you can't really just like go from 0 to 30,000 reviews. The things that you can do as a seller to show up more is to, one, maximize your title and your listing with great keywords. And you want to use a lot of different keywords that allow Amazon to truly understand your product. So what your product is and who it's for. Those are the two most important things. So if you're selling pee pads for dogs, I want to make sure I'm telling Amazon it's washable pee pads for dogs. That's being very clear what my product is. And that point for dogs is who it's for. But I can also say in my listing and throughout my title for puppies, I can say it's for whelping, which if you're not familiar with whelping, it's basically when dogs give birth. So our pee pads are actually being used for whelping. Like when a dog gives birth, they actually want to lay on reusable cloth pads. And so that's another who it's for, like an audience or customer type. So you really want to tell Amazon exactly what your product is and then who can use it, like different types of people and use cases that can use it. That will allow you to show up more in the search results or for more searches. And then in order to climb up that, you just basically need to get more sales on those keywords. So if you only have one sale over the past year for whelping pads for dogs, well, once you get to 10 or 20 or 30 sales, especially if that's in a short period of time, your rank on that keyword will start climbing up. And so that to me is the biggest thing. And it all really boils down to what I said in the beginning, click-through rate and conversion rate. If those two metrics are high, you're going to climb the ranks on Amazon. And that's what Amazon really cares about in terms of where to put products in the search results. So actually the same videos I just showed earlier, I recommend watching on our channel, because the point I'm trying to make here, and that's this one here, how to find long tail keywords and outrank your competitors. You want to watch this one too. The point I'm really trying to make is you want to use relevant keywords, because on those relevant keywords, your click-through rate will be higher than the less relevant keywords, and your conversion rate will obviously be much higher as well. So relevancy is a really important factor here that affects both click-through rate and conversion rate. But hopefully that helps answer your question. Yeah, it can be really simple. I think that's the best way of thinking about it. Just really simply, Amazon just cares about the customer. And they know what they're clicking and they know what they're buying. And so try to put yourself in Amazon's mind by doing these manual searches on Amazon to see what products show up and how your product fits, and then kind of like reverse engineer from there. Yeah, great question. Which are the best inputs to find products for the UK marketplace? So I assume maybe you're talking about using our product database or the opportunity finder tool. The best inputs, I mean, you can come down here. If you're selling in the UK, you can select the UK for data there, or you can always use the US data as a starting point and then take those products and then look it up on the UK. Those are both two really good strategies. There's no good filter here that I can say for finding products specifically in the UK. But if you've seen any of our product research videos, which you can literally just come to the search bar, type in product research, you'll find a bunch of good content. One of my favorite ones is this one right here. It's relatively new. The 5 best ways to find a product to sell on Amazon. But we have a bunch of different playlists even dedicated to it. The ones I like are really the ones up here that we have as presets. So high demand, That's going to input a minimum a minimum sales threshold. That's actually pretty high. I actually like to start at like 300. And then when I'm looking at results, I will narrow it down by basically going up the ladder. And I can do that manually by looking through the results when they populate here, or I can come back up here and slowly progress and go 450, 550, or 750. But, I would start here. Good opportunity. What that's going to do is just show you a niche score. So this is only in the opportunity finder. And as you can see here, the niche score is basically looking at like the quality of the niche. So it's looking at essentially like demand, competition, and the quality of the listings. So like how strong are the listings? That's a good one. I typically don't start with it. Again, I like to start really broad and then narrow down. But one that I do like here is a strong price point that will put in 30 as the minimum. Again, you can start at like 20 if you want, or 25, and go from there. To me, I think these are the two most important ones. Competition, I used to always bring it down to like low or even medium, but I've been leaving this at like high. Sometimes I'll keep it at very high, just again to start broad. But the one that I really like the most is seasonality. So you don't want to sell anything that has a lot of seasonality. Oh, sorry, I just realized I was kind of covering some of that there. You don't want to sell anything with high seasonality, so I'll bring this down to like medium. And the reason I don't go down to low or even very low is because depending on how this works, I don't want to get rid of those products. I like to just look at them myself and make a judgment call, because there might be products that are very high seasonal that Jungle Scout says, but for whatever reason, they really just aren't that seasonal. It's just there's been a lot of products that like have shown an influx of sales during a certain period. So I like to start with these filters. Again, like maybe I'll start with medium there and then click search. Oh, I didn't even do any of the categories. But that's another thing I would do is I would select categories based on a couple of things. We have, again, a lot of our product research videos, we talk about this, but I don't want to sell things that are going to be a headache. Now, this is just me. A big headache, for example, is something in like a watch. I wouldn't want to sell a watch because it's very competitive, probably expensive, and then it's just like highly returnable, or it just seems to me like there's a lot of moving parts that could be messed up. And so the same here with like jewelry or like clothing. I don't want to sell clothing because, or even computer accessories, like fashion, I take off the board because people return it a lot. It's just like a mess. So really go through here, figure out what type of categories you might like. Another way is to just like include keywords. So oftentimes when I'm doing product research in the US, I might want to sell a very specific type of product. Like I'm like addicted to golf right now. And so maybe I really want to sell a golf product and create a golf brand. I would just use golf there. Now this is probably messed up because one, didn't select the category, and two, let me do a hard refresh. And two, I kind of started on the UK marketplace. But yeah, let me just do golf real quick. I'm just going to put in a couple 330 here. Oh, I didn't even do the seasonality filters. But I like doing that because that's going to look for all the keywords or products that have the word golf in the title. So hopefully that answers your question. Sorry, I didn't mean to like not answer it, but it's just very hard to like answer a question or to do product research in one marketplace. There's no real like filter that is really helpful in that marketplace. But hopefully through our content or that little quick demo, you're able to get a little better understanding of how to use Jungle Scout to find products in whatever country you're selling in. Awesome. A few more questions. We're going to wrap up for this week, but we will be back next week. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you are enjoying these videos. We like connecting with you all live. Like even if there's 20 something people watching, that's awesome because we're not looking for views on this. We're just looking to connect with you, help you out as sellers. If you're using Jungle Scout, great. We can answer those questions too. But that's not our goal. Our goal isn't to get you over to Jungle Scout. I don't know if we even have a link in the description. We probably do just because, oh yeah, we do. It's a template there. But hopefully you guys are getting value out of this series or this video or our channel in general. So let me know if you guys are liking this video or liking this series even. Either way, I enjoy spending time with you. And it's cool seeing like a lot of the same people come in week after week, whether it's on this video or on our other videos that we post normally. Which again, yeah, if you haven't seen, we're doing this new series. So fun. It's Amazon Revamped, we call it. We have 2 episodes out now. A third one is dropping. It's either tomorrow or next week. I can't remember. I think it's next week. It's definitely not tomorrow. We still have something to film for it. It's called Amazon Revamped. It's basically us like going through and revamping a product's listing that like a really bad listing on Amazon that we found. And we're just like showing you how we would make it better. So we take real photos, we take real videos, we optimize the listing with Jungle Scout. and it's fun. It's like edutainment. It's a lot of entertainment mixed with education. So that's a fun one. We're trying to have more fun on the channel, and so all of your feedback is greatly appreciated if you have any. So yeah, let me know if there's anything else you want to see next, any type of content you want to see from us. Okay, cool. Answer a few more of these. How do you get ungated in Nike, for example? And how do you locate suppliers? Yeah, so with Nike, I'm not exactly sure specifically. To get ungated in general, you just got to get the brand's permission. So Nike, I don't know how they work, but sometimes you can get permission from the brand, or you can get permission from a distributor that already has permission from the brand. So a lot of times you might find local distributors or non-local distributors. And so to answer your second part of that question, let me show you real quick here. This is more so for wholesale, but you can type in worldwide brands, which is a online directory for wholesalers and dropshippers. You have to sign up for it. It's like $100 something, I think, or $200 something, but it's a great investment if you're doing wholesale and you're trying to take it serious, because they even have categories for Amazon sellers. I thought they had like, free preview. Oh, okay. But this is one, or you can literally type in, so we're in Austin, Texas. I'm just going to type in, or let me get to Google so it's a little bit bigger for you on screen. Type in Austin, Texas, wholesalers, and I'm going to type in sporting goods. So you can probably do it without the category, but if you want to get very specific on a category, you can. And you can just go to this like more places, and this is going to bring up the map. And you can either like use the map, or you can kind of zoom out to get more of these here. Now, I actually know these are like stores that are local stores, so I can't click that here. I might have to change wholesalers to distributors. That could work, but let's see. Sportsman's Finest in Bee Cave. So let's see if they have a website. This is just one way of finding local distributors. Down for maintenance. But yeah, hopefully that helps answer your question. But you could also use these directories like worldwide brands. Actually, if you just type in wholesale, sorry that I keep plugging our videos, but I truly think it's the best way to learn. I'd watch a lot of these videos. So these two here are really, really good. This one shows you how to do product research. This one shows you how to find suppliers. And then this one here is an advanced strategy, I would say, on like how to think about wholesaling. So some really good content. You can even watch it from Greg himself. It's a little bit of older video, but still everything he talks about is impactful and relevant. So yeah, definitely recommend watching those 3 or 4 videos on our channel for more detailed specifics to your answers. Oh, and also your next question, the second part there, is retail arbitrage dead? I don't know if it's dead or not. I don't do retail arbitrage. I think it's actually really hard to do. A lot of people think private label is hard, but I think private label in comparison to any business model like wholesale and retail arbitrage, it's easier. And the reason why I say that is with retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, and wholesaling and dropshipping, you have to do product research constantly. It's very stressful doing product research because you have to reach out to suppliers. You basically have to do product and supplier research weekly or monthly because you have products that churn, or you just need to constantly be finding new and bigger products. And with private label, you do that once for the most part. Like if you're just launching one product, you do all that work up front. And then you work on branding, which is the fun part. Like you get to maybe do some like TikToks and social media. You get to learn about Amazon PPC or hire someone to do it for you, but you don't ever have to stress about product research again because you did it already. And so I'm not going to say it's dead or not because I don't do it myself. I'm sure it's alive and well. I'm sure the people at the top are making a lot of money, and I'm sure the people at the bottom aren't making any money, just like any business model. So yeah, I won't say it's dead. I don't think it's dead, but I just truly think it's a lot harder compared to private label. Hopefully that helps your perspective. And if you don't have enough money to do private label, don't let that stop you. Just get started learning about it. Maybe you start with wholesale first, or maybe you just save up for a little bit and you do a lot of learning up until that point. Or if you have $1,000, just get started. And like I said earlier, if you were here for this answer, don't worry about going out of stock right away. It's like a nice thing to avoid in your early stages. But in the early stages, you don't need to worry about that. Just get going. You'll learn so much by actually doing it. But if you can't do it yet, whether it's time, or money, don't worry about that. You can just keep learning, and eventually once you save up enough money, then you can start learning through experience. So yeah. But I'm sure retail arbitrage is probably really, really good if you're at the top and you're really familiar with how it works. All right, Rice Only is back to ask, is the IP accelerator worth it to trademark a logo, or can I just do it myself? If you know how to do it yourself, you'll save a lot of money. I'm somebody that I pay for someone's expertise in an area that I'm not experienced in. So I actually used the IP Accelerator program and I loved it because obviously somebody else did something that they're familiar with and I'm not. And also, the IP Accelerator is great because Amazon is working with pre-vetted law firms to get your trademark not only just submitted, but acknowledged by Amazon. And that's a really big part here because once you do get your trademark submitted, you can file a case basically with Amazon to say, hey, give me brand registry. I got my trademark. Here's everything you need to know. And while you can do that pretty easily, like it should only take a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks. There's been horror stories I've heard of people that like just can't get through to Amazon. And so what I love about the IP Accelerator program is Amazon's giving you really good law firms that they know and trust, have a good track record, a really good price too. They lock in the prices for you. So you can't spend over the ceiling that they put there, which for me, I think I spent like $1,500 in total, like $1,000 at the start and $500 at a later point to like renew or to like finalize it. But then the second part, like I mentioned, is they work with Amazon on the back end. So like your law firm sends all that information to Amazon for you. And then you kind of just like a snap of a finger, get accepted into brand registry. So me personally, I'm a fan of simplicity. I like Amazon IP Accelerator and I would recommend it to everybody if you have the budget. But if you know how to do it yourself, why not save an extra, $1,000 to $1,500? So yeah, feel free to do it yourself. But again, I'm just one of the person. Like I hire like LegalZoom, a premium service to do my LLC for me, just because it's simple. They remind me on like when things need to be submitted each year. But that's just my philosophy. I pay people to do things that I either don't have time for or I don't know or want to learn about. But that's just me. What is the best type of product to sell? Really quickly, I watch our YouTube videos on product research, but I'll do some quick ones here. Anything over $30. And I say that because, there's certainly products under $30 that you can sell a lot of and it will be profitable. But typically, you want to have a $30 floor budget or $25 even. That way you can lower your price down and sell whenever you just want to get rid of inventory or you want to get your reviews going. So I'll just real quick, $30 minimum price, maybe no more than like 100, because after that your conversion rate will just drop naturally. People are less likely to spend money on things that are more than 50, 60, 70 bucks, depending on the product. Products that have a brand agnostic customer to it. And what I mean by that is it a product where people are brand loyal? So if you think about like water bottles, good example. I have 2 Yetis here. If I were to buy a water bottle, me personally, or a mug, I'm probably going to buy Yeti. But another popular one is like Stanley or whatever. But think about products that people don't care about the brand as much as they do with like toilet paper or tissue paper or water or whatever it is. But like there's certain like shoes. Most people only buy like from 2 or 3 brands of shoes. So I would just try to find a brand agnostic category where consumers don't really care about the brand that much. $30, brand agnostics, obviously high demand. At Jungle Scout, we define that by monthly sales exceeding 300 units or more. The higher the better. And then profitability. So that's sort of with that first one price. But if your product's in high demand, if you're profitable, and if you don't have any like hard like friction points to selling your product, meaning like brand loyalty in the category, then you should do very well. And the last one here I will say is improvement potential. You want to sell something that you can stick out on the market. Don't just sell the same product and slap your logo on it because yes, that's easy. But the hard thing is you're going to have to spend a lot of money on advertising to get sales for a very long time. Now, if your product was unique to the market, you might get a lot of sales because someone's looking for your specific type of product. Maybe you made a functional improvement, like you put a handle on something and people literally type in water bottle with a handle. Like that's not like the best way of maybe talking about improvement potential because that's not like you don't need to reinvent the wheel. I'm not saying to like patent something or like totally do something unique, but even just one small improvement can help you stand out on the market and could go a long way in increasing your profitability since you truly do stand out. And the only thing that is you don't want to get into a race battle or a price battle, I should say. If you're racing your prices down, like let's say your price is $29, your competitor's $30, the only thing, and that's the only thing that kind of differentiate your products. you're just going to be lowering your prices in order to like stand out more. And you don't want to do that race to the bottom price war. So, yeah, make sure price is not the only differentiating thing, or brand logo is not the only differentiating thing. Try to think of one, even if just one small improvement to your product. Let's see here. North developers, can you tell me, can we sell health and household category products? Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's a product category that I think is really popular. It's one of the highest demand categories on Amazon. And just make sure, some people are okay with it, but I like to avoid things that like can easily break, or things that have batteries in them, things that are too big. So maybe try to narrow it down based off of like, think about like, will someone easily break it? Will someone easily return it? Or can your supplier not make it correctly? Is there a lot of moving parts? If I compare like a camera to say a rubber band, there's not much that can go wrong with the rubber band versus the camera. There's so many different moving parts that are fragile and intricate in the camera that make it scary for me as a seller, because I don't want people returning my product. I don't want a whole inventory batch to be messed up because the supplier messed up the sensor or something. So just think about that. Is your product going to be is it easy to make and hard to return, basically? Those are two good things to think about. Also, if you want more insight into like some of the best categories, head over to Jungle Scout, go to this resources tab, and we have a report. We have a bunch of reports. These are all free reports, by the way. Let's see, where is it? Consumer Trends Report. This is a good one. So this is going to show you basically, we've essentially like studied over 1,000 U.S. consumers to ask them how they shop and what type of products they buy. If you fill out this information, click down the report, you're going to get a lot of good insights. Again, this is free, of like the top categories to sell on Amazon, or you can literally just type in on our search bar here, top category. And I believe we should have a bunch of articles. Sometimes you got to type in categories. Sometimes you got to type in different keywords here, but we do have a lot of articles on different like categories and how we rank them. They're all based on the report though. So I don't see it up here right now, but yeah, definitely check out that free resource, the Consumer Trends Report for Q1. That's a good one. And this is a great category, the one that you mentioned. Okay. Harry asked, will Jungle Scout be helpful for Walmart eBay sellers? Certainly. Yeah, I mean, if you're also selling on Amazon, like let's say you're starting on Amazon and then you want to expand at Walmart and eBay, that Jungle Scout could definitely be helpful for you, especially if you're looking to expand your product catalog. What happens on Amazon is pretty indicative of what happens off of Amazon. Now, you got to be careful with that because there's a lot of nuances and factors and variables that change because buying behaviors tend to shift based off of the country, obviously. Buying behaviors change based off of the marketplace. So Amazon is a different marketplace than Walmart and eBay. But for the most part, if you're selling a generic product, Walmart's data, because most people shop on Amazon, Amazon has the most data. So the trends that you see on Amazon are pretty indicative, or indicative, I should say, of the broader market, whether that's on Walmart or anywhere else. So you can certainly use Amazon data to see what the market likes, types of products they like buying, the price points that they like buying them at, and you can sort of implement that into your off Amazon strategy. But just be careful that it's not the only source of information. Like Amazon data is helpful for Amazon products, and it can be helpful for off Amazon products, but you just got to be careful because there are some nuances between different marketplaces. Awesome. Thank you, Rice. Or Rice only. Oh, I could just kick the camera. Glad you're enjoying the series and Jungle Scout, if that's what you mean by the app. So awesome. Thank you. Last question here I'll answer. And then, like I said, we'll be back next week. Hopefully, I think we will be back next week. I'll update you on the community tab. So we do community post here on the YouTube channel. And I'll update you if there's anything that changes. But typically, it's every Thursday. But we're gearing up for a big event. So I'm not going to promise it, but we should be back next Thursday. But I won't promise that. Okay, last question here is how much budget? So I said this earlier, you would like to have $1,000 at least. And really, I would say the majority of, or one thing, maybe instead of like how much you need, because there's no real right answer here. Like it could be 1,000, it could be 10,000. In a perfect scenario, you have like $5,000. In the less than ideal scenario, you have $1,000. In the best case scenario, you have $10,000, because that allows you more money to put towards your product photography and videos, allows you more money to put towards inventory and advertising, allows you money to maybe hire somebody to like make your logo or to get an LLC even. So I'm not going to say a price. I would say anywhere from $1,000 and up is great, because you can start to incorporate more of those things. But for me, the most important things to getting started is to create great listings. So, I mean, the product photography and videos are like the main things that I'm caring about at first. Obviously, you need your inventory too, so that would come second. Then I put some more money towards advertising. And then if you have any money left over, get the LLC. Just get it right away so you don't have to worry about it. If you don't have the money, don't worry about it. You don't have to do it. LLCs are typically pretty cheap, but then if you have any left over, the trademark is going to be helpful for you as well. So those are some things I would think about. And depending on how much money you have, you can decide what needs to be prioritized and be spent first. So, yeah, that is that question. But I hope you guys did enjoy this week's live Q&A. Again, join us next week for next week's live Q&A. If you have any questions at all, go ahead and submit them as comments under this video, and then we'll carry those over to next week's video as the pre-submitted questions. Thank you guys so much again for joining us today. I hope you learned a lot about Jungle Scout, selling on Amazon. If you have any questions, you can also visit the link in the description to learn more about Jungle Scout. But until then, guys, thank you again for joining, and I'll see you next week. Take care and have a good weekend.